Hi, I'm Alex. I'm 23, and we're here to talk about Forest 0, Man City 2. Good evening, everybody. Hope you're doing well, and welcome to Grumpy Old Reds, where we're gonna talk through yesterday's events. What happened? Is it as bad as some people making out? And was it worth the travel and the fee some people paid for, Rob? So, if you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Oh, wait, I think I can. Yeah, I can. Does that work? Yay. Oh, shit, it's underneath. Make sure you're subscribed as well. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about. Just like, how are you guys feeling? Are you down in the dumps? Do you think we should have done better? Is it Nuno's fault? Is it Elanga's fault? Is it Gibbs-White's fault? Is it the medical staff's fault? I don't know. We're gonna get into it all. I'm gonna kick it off with Rob, because Rob made the trip down to London. He even splashed out and stayed in the Ritz. That's how, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, right? So, yeah, Rob, from the perspective going down there yesterday, kind of how was the day and what was your take on it?
Everything about the day was brilliant up until the kickoff, and then nothing was good after that. That is probably the best I can sum it up. Our fans turned up, but our team did not. The opposition team turned up, but their fans did not. And that contrast was pretty evident. I think that our fans deserved their team and their fans deserved our team. We were outplayed, and the result was deserved. Personally, I don't feel that the club or the playing staff at the club were fully committed to giving everything in this game. Now, that's going to draw me some criticism, I'm sure. But personally, I think what's happened is, and, you know, this may be the right decision, by the way, that at some point in the last week, the owner has said to the manager, look, the Thursday game against Brentford is the most important thing. Champions League is the most important thing. So don't risk Aina. You know, maybe Elanga's carrying a knock. Don't start with Elanga. If you're losing, take Chris Wood off after 70 minutes and put Taiwo on. Like, that's going to turn the game around.
Rob, what makes you think? Sorry, let me just interject for a second. I will let you carry on. What makes you think that the owners said that?
Well, because I
was thinking that.
I believe that Nuno personally was very committed to winning the FA Cup, right? You only have to listen to the things that he said previously, how he behaved after we won the shootout against Ipswich, running on the pitch, giving Aina a piggyback, etc. I believe that it's Nuno's dream to win the FA Cup, but I think that somebody somewhere, and by the way, this may be the right decision, yeah? And if we win on Thursday, and if Aina comes back and plays the remaining 5 games and we win them all, it was the right decision. But personally, I feel that having got ourselves to such a stage, and I mean stage in both senses of the word, I mean the semi-final of the FA Cup and Wembley, the stage, the place itself, right? Having got ourselves to that stage, I think to give anything less than 100% and to take risks, I feel was a bit of a disappointment, to put it mildly. And given the quality of the opponent, if you give it anything less than 100%, you ain't going to get anything out of that game. Now, I just want to talk about the positives, which is even before I got on the tube, in Rickmansworth. The place was full of Forest fans. Couldn't see any Etihad fans. Then I got on the tube, full of Forest fans. Got off the tube at Wembley Park, and I looked down Olympic Way, and I saw 90.
Wembley Way.
No, it's called Olympic Way now.
I changed it. Okay.
Yeah, it's called Olympic Way, and 95% of the shirts were red, right? And I looked at the other 5%, and I thought, oh, there's some Etihad fans there. and it was our fans wearing the blue away top. There were no fucking Man City fans there, right? That team, right? The football club that was formerly known as Manchester City was bought by the Abu Dhabi government in 2008 and closed down. And what you've effectively got there is like MK Dons. It's complete astroturfed. It's not a real football team. It is a plaything of an oil-rich nation. Right? And if they can't sell their half of the ground after having won all those titles and all those things, if they don't have a fan base by now, what the hell is going on with football in this country, right? Because once I got into the ground, there was not a single empty seat in the red half of the ground, right? Wembley Stadium has a capacity of 90,000, and there were 76,000 people there yesterday, right? Now, leaving aside a couple of thousand media people, if you subtract our 45,000, yeah, it means that maximum Man City have sold about 28k tickets.
Mm-hmm.
It's pathetic. And the idea that they need to expand their ground when we can see it's half empty every week, they literally have plastic fans, plastic seats that are bought by the Abu Dhabi government to artificially inflate the revenue of that club.
Rob, do you reckon if it was
an Arab thing, Rob?
Sorry?
Is this an Arab thing?
Well, listen, I used to work for the same employer and I know a few things, right? And I just think that was everything wrong because our fans were brilliant. Everyone was in great form. I saw so many people I knew. And then right at the start, Mull Kintyre was absolutely cacophonous. And then the Man City fans, those of them that were there, held up some really crappy banner saying like Man City are back.
Arabs forever.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, we pulled out this fantastic Robin Hood picture, lovely piece of artwork. And at that moment, I was so proud. And then the game started. And within a minute and a half, we're a goal down. And unfortunately, the 4-3-2-1, the Christmas tree, which you guys are so fond of. So we've got a bank of 4 and a bank of 3 in front of them. How the hell is what's his face? Rico Lewis. Who scored the goal? Rico Lewis. How is he the only player in the D when he takes that shot? Go and watch it and press pause. Nobody else
Danilo.
is in the D. And no, he went through the whole team. The problem is they came out flat-footed. Maybe they were overawed by the occasion. They looked tired. The whole team looked tired, right? And we were second to every loose ball. It just reminded me of that Everton game, the first half, right? It was we had one touch in the opposition box, right? Now, we may have turned up at half-time and come out with Elanga on, but by then it's too late. And by the way, the second half, we were doing a lot of defending in that as well, right? Now, we only had my choice of team on for 26 minutes in that game, which is both wingers and Chris Wood. And I have to say, putting on Taiwo on 71 minutes when you're 2-0 down is throwing in the towel. You tell me that it's anything else. It's saying, okay, fuck this. This game's gone. Let's make sure that Chris Wood's available on Thursday. Just like Aina, right? And I have to say, pretty much the only positive from the playing side is I thought Zack Abbott was really good. And when I saw the team sheet, he was the one I was worried about. So maybe there's a positive there. I don't want to chew out Danilo, but I just
all right, one at a time, Rob. We don't have to spunky load all in the opening segment.
Yeah, well,
right?
anyway, I look, it may well be that the decision made to hold something back and not throw everything at this game and not injure Aina and not injure Wood, maybe that's the right decision. If we win on Thursday, I will forget this very quickly. But the problem is, if you're going to make a decision like that, I said right from the start of the season, with the FA Cup or the League Cup, you either need to win it or go out in the third round. And the problem with this is it got me and it got those 45,000 people just about invested enough to care, and then we fucking lost, right?
Rob,
We should have
with the players we had available, what choices did Nuno really have?
Elanga.
What choices did Nuno
I'm
really
telling
have?
you that the choices were imposed upon him, right?
I don't
And
believe that.
Wait, Rob, you can't say that. I gotta ask you about that, right? Because I'll tell you why your theory doesn't cut.
Yeah,
It's because they cut to Marinakis 2 or 3 times, and he was fuming.
Angry.
He was fuming.
Talk, Rob. There's nothing linking that at all. And you think Nuno's going to stand for the chairman telling him what to do and who to pick? I don't think it works like that. Not for
right. Okay. So do you think that was the strongest team we could have put out?
No, it wasn't. But I agree with you. Because
you're against Etihad, the most powerful team in the world.
I'm going to go last on this. I'm going to let you guys have your say. But I'm not bothered about yesterday. I'm great. You had a great day out. You had some fantastic memories. But the bigger picture for me was not winning the FA Cup. And that question's been asked for the last 8 to 10 weeks of Forest fans. You know, what's a big, and I've said straightforward, it's Champions League. We've got to get into that top 5. I'm disappointed about yesterday, obviously, but that's kind of the reason I didn't make that trip, because I didn't have the faith that we would put everything into yesterday's game more than we would do with the league games going forward. But that's where I stand on that. I want Crypto to say what he's got to say before I
just before you jump in, Ben. I've got this from Stubbo. So this is true, by the way, because Daps called me. It's about 11 o'clock, I think. And I had a late night. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't hear the phone ring. But I called him back 1 minute later. And he said, Yo, Wolfie, I've met up with a Forest fan who recognized me from your preview with me. And Stubbo, is this you, the guy whose granddad lives next door to Marinakis? I don't know if Daps got it exactly right, but is that true? And he's the founder of Warburton Bread, apparently, as well. If what Daps says is true, but Daps wasn't very sober yesterday. So shout out to you. Says no idea how to contact you. Just look over there. Take your pick. Twitter, Instagram, they're all there. Guys, make sure you're following us on all these. You can scan those QR codes. Or just drop us an email, admin@forestfantv.com, bro, or on WhatsApp, or whatever tickles your fancy. But shout out to you. Daps was speaking really positively of you in the conversation you had with him. Stop bringing Laurie up. Who cares about Laurie? Andy with the 199 says, apart from Anderson, we need a new midfield. Andy, I can agree with you more. I really couldn't.
We need 3 Andersons.
We still need better than that.
Before that, we need a few more likes. We've got 355 watching us
live.
live.
Are you on the right mic? You haven't got your Barry White in this one.
Have I not? I said that to Crypto. Crypto always trolls me with my mic. I said, is it all right? He goes, no, you're
I
think you're on the wrong mic. Yeah.
I couldn't even hear you at that point.
Yeah, right. But he is right. We do need that. Are we on Blue Sky? Yeah, we're on Blue Sky, but honestly, we haven't got any admin looking after that. So
we're not woke.
We're on there, but I don't think it comes under our admin's cover. But yeah, the other ones are the easiest: Instagram, WhatsApp, TikTok, whatever. Take your pick. Yeah, Ed is right though. I mean, what are we saying here on the likes, guys? 108 with over 350 already in here. Well, what are we saying? Get them likes up. That's a bit twisted, LO, but he's a cracking man for sure. Yeah, drop us an email or a WhatsApp, bro. We'll catch up. Go on then, Ben. What's your take on this? I sense Rob's disappointment, and I understand it. Basically, to summarize Rob's 20 minutes there, he's saying the fans paid a lot of money to go down and the players didn't turn up. Or at the very least, if you're being kind, they didn't turn up for 45 minutes. They must have caught the late tube into Wembley. But go on, Ben, what are you saying?
I mean, for me, the main blame lies on Nuno. I just think not starting Elanga against City was a disaster. If there's one person that should have been on that team sheet, it should have been Elanga. And we saw that from the second half. The whole game changed once he came on and started running at their full back. So, you know, the commentators were saying that Man City were basically pushing forward with only a 2-man defence. So their fullbacks were basically playing as attacking wingers. And I just don't think it's acceptable that we went into that ultra low block. And the thing that really annoyed me is that when they scored 2 minutes in, we still sit in that low block. We had 0 shots in the first half. Forget shots on target. We had 0 shots. We didn't even have an attempt to try and get a goal back in the first half. We sat back for 45 minutes against Manchester City and then somehow expected to come out in the second half and turn it into a 2-1 victory. I mean, it was just a complete and utter mishap.
To be fair, we're only 1-0 down at half-time, Crypto.
Say again?
To be fair, we're only 1-0 down at half-time.
Yeah, but only 1-0 against Manchester City, giving yourself 45 minutes to come back into the game is, you know, it's not good enough. You've got why did we need to waste that 45 minutes? Why not try and get a goal back before half-time? We would have come into the second half back to level square and had a chance to either get extra time or to go on and win the game. If you come back into the game after half-time with only 45 minutes left, you're putting a massive amount of pressure on yourself. And for me, it was just unacceptable. And even when we were 2-0 down, like in the 84th minute, I was fuming because they were letting Doku run down the wing and attack us. Why are we being attacked on the 84th minute at 2-0 down? We should be the ones attacking. Manchester City should be the ones sat back and low blocking, but they weren't. We just continued to get attacked. And I'm sorry, but that midfield we have, it's not good enough. It is not a good enough, strong enough midfield.
What's it not good enough for, Crypto? What's it not good enough for?
It's not good enough
being a midfield.
It's not good enough for the level which we're trying to compete with.
Mm-hmm.
So where we are in the table at the moment, if we get Champions League or if we come up against a big game like this with City in a semi-final, we don't have the midfield to compete.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to point out specific players because I don't think anybody had an amazing game yesterday. Anderson was all right, but Dominguez for me is one, not consistent enough. Danilo, and I'll try not to upset Ant, but the thing that frustrates me about Danilo is his passing, and he loses possession a lot. And I know Ant will say other players do that as well, but the thing I noticed is the passing. But to be fair to Danilo, yesterday he was being asked to basically sit in a low block and defend. He was basically asked to be a CDM. That's not Danilo for me. Danilo is an attacking 8. He needs to come on as a substitute in an attacking 8 position and go forward. Trying to rely on Danilo to be a CDM is putting square pegs in round holes again. And I don't think it's acceptable. I would have rather seen Sangare start there. But to be honest, I would have rather seen Elanga on the pitch. So
let's touch on this Danilo. Sorry, go on, Ben.
Yeah, just a few more points, and then I'll finish on. So taking Wood off after Elanga had come on, again, what's that all about? That, to me, is almost like saying, let's save Wood from a potential injury for the rest of the season. Because you've just put Elanga on the pitch, the one person who works well with Wood, the one person who consistently gets assists and goals alongside Wood, and you swap him out for Taiwo. It made 0 sense, absolutely 0 sense. It was clear at that point, they'd given up, they'd thrown in the towel, and he's thinking, shit, I don't want Wood injured for the rest of the season. And then, I'm not sure if Rob touched on this, but the difference between us and the big teams is that our finishing, we have 0 clinical finishes in our team apart from Wood. And, look, I'm sure it's hard when you've got a lot of pressure and the pace of the game, but that shot from Elanga yesterday, and arguably that second shot from Morgan Gibbs-White yesterday, they should have been in the back of the net. At this level, it's the difference. I mean, it was literally the difference between potentially going through to extra time and not. We're talking centimeters here. Elanga's shot, for me, it should have been in the back of the net. It should have been in the back of the net. And it really frustrates me that they can't finish. Because if Wood is not on the ball, if Wood is not having the game of his life, we rely on players and they're just not consistent enough in the shooting. And I think, I know some of you guys don't agree, but I think Morgan Gibbs-White is a fantastic player and he has so many in-goal involvements, but he's got to start being more clinical because it's just costing us. And my final point, and I'll finish on a positive, is that I thought Abbott was good. He had a good game. It was a big match. I thought it was a good game. So well done to Abbott. And yes, now we can concentrate on potentially getting Champions League, which again, is a positive. But the only thing I wanted to revert back on, which I forgot to say, is that the massive difference yesterday of not having attacking wing backs. I'm not blaming Toffolo and Abbott here, right? Because it's not their game. I'm not blaming them. But the difference between having basically defensive-minded fullbacks and then someone like Williams and Aina who will get the team up the pitch is huge. I didn't realize until yesterday how much of a difference it is missing Williams and Aina, because we basically went to Cooper ball. We sat back in such a low block because none of our team, even when we're down, none of our team are pushing the team forward. And I realized yesterday that Aina and Williams are the exact two people who actually get us onto those counter attacks. They started from the back. Well, Williams and Abbott, again, not blaming them, it's not their game, but Williams and Toffolo and Abbott, they're defensive minded, and we never saw them get forward. Toffolo a little bit, but
and let's be even fairer to Zack Abbott. He's playing out of position. He's a centre back, and he's playing out right.
Yeah, I thought he did well. I mean,
yeah, he's got
the pressure on him yesterday must have been massive. I thought he did well, but we missed Williams and Aina massively. I can't explain how much we missed them. We're a different team without Williams and Aina in it.
But Nuno had no choice on that. So
he had no choice. I'm not criticizing this. I'm just making a point.
Yeah, let's finish off a Danilo debate because obviously
let's start it. Not just finish it off.
I'll start it right because I've been consistent on it. So let's
jump in. Let him start on it. I want to hear his take. But just before Ed, let me just catch up with a couple of the super chats, bro. Noah with the 199. He goes, "I'm back, still upset and depressed, but proud." How many different emotions is that, Noah, in one sentence, man? Big up to you. Thanks so much for the 199. Dan, I did see the post. Admin sent it through to me and Rob. I did. Make sure you tag Rob in. And make sure you're following us as well, Dan, on Twitter. But yeah, that was quite funny. He had Rob's blue jumper. By the way, there's only one person to blame for yesterday. And as I said in my video today, is Rob and his stupid lucky hat.
Yeah. That hat's supposed to be an NPC. How did that get lead?
Okay.
Now he's going to blame Andrew, isn't he? I know his spiel, man.
Okay. I am developing a theory that the Lucky Hats powers only work at the City Ground. So we will find out on Thursday night. So that is basically the Lucky Hats' last chance, Thursday night. And if it gets us through Thursday night, you will apologize.
I don't want to talk about your lucky hat because then if we do lose, I'm gonna be really angry with you.
To be fair, you did bring it up.
Yeah, well, I'm angry with her because I blame him. Okay. Likewise, how we doing on the likes? Because we are about to talk about Danilo. I want your opinions in the chat on it. It's 139 likes. We should be way closer to 200. There's well over 400 of you in here, so get it to 150 at least. That's 9 more of you that need to hit the like. It's free to do. Okay, as Danilo, let me give you the narratives I had just in the player ratings. Sell him. No, not me. I'm talking about what the chat was saying. And chat, you can speak for yourselves in the comments. Sell him. He's not good enough. He's still not fit. He's not recovered from his injury. He's scared to tackle. He's not a 6. He's not an 8. He's not a 10. He's amazing. He's being used wrong. He will come good, needs a preseason. Literally all in the player rated yesterday, right? What's your take on Danilo?
And there's a few of those takes I would certainly agree with. I don't think he's come back from that injury well at all. And I do think he's a player that Nuno kind of needs to take out of a firing squad at the moment. He shouldn't be a starter, that's for sure. I don't think in any game where he started, he stood out. I can't remember him having a 7 or certainly not an 8 out of 10 performance this season. We've seen little patches of him, but he's come back from a really, horrendous injury, and you can't downplay that enough, So I think take him out of the limelight for now. I still think he's got a future at Forest, but at the same time saying that, whether he gets a pre-season or not, if there's a decent enough offer that comes in for him in the summer, then I'm willing to let him go, because even with the short spells we've seen of him, it's not enough for me to say that he's going to be a top player coming at Forest. And I think he's had enough time, to be honest, but we got to take into account, like I say, the injury earlier on this season. I wouldn't be starting him in any more games this season. I don't think he's fitting well. I think the fans get on his back quite quickly as well in the games. I noticed even at Wembley yesterday, you know, there was a few boos, well, not boos, but discerning voices when he was on the ball, and he made a few mistakes. He got caught on the ball a couple of times, and it didn't look good, and he hasn't looked sharp at all since he's come back from injury. So for me, I'm not totally finished with him, but for the season, yes, I am. Yeah, I wouldn't be playing him anymore this season. Certainly not as a starter. Crypto, do you think any different on that? Would you keep him? Would you give him another chance?
I mean, he's definitely not a starter for me, but I've been consistent on this for a while now, even after receiving some hate for it. But I think people are starting to agree with me. He's not a starter because I don't think the position that he should start in is available. So for me, he should be a player where Anderson is playing. Well, obviously Anderson is the better player. So then Danilo shouldn't be on the pitch starting effectively. But when, I'll kind of say the same thing I just said. Like yesterday, asking him to sit back and defend in a low block is not what Danilo is good at. He's better at showing some flair on the attack, acting as like an attacking cam and going forward. And at the moment, we're not playing football like that. So for me, he's got to come on as a super sub. But the thing that annoys me, and this is the thing I've been consistent on, is his passing's not good. And the reason why it annoys me so much, and I know Ant says, oh, you only pick out Danilo, but the reason I notice it is because when I used to play football for a number of years, when I was younger, the one thing I was good at as someone who is not a professional footballer is passing. It's not that hard. If you stood 20 feet away from me, I can guarantee you I'll pass the ball to your feet every time. He's a professional football player and he can't pass the ball to someone. And it is so frustrating. And that's why I notice it so much, because it's the most simple thing you can do in football is to pass a football along the ground to someone. And he's really struggling. And like I say, I don't agree that he's in the right position. And I don't think he should be played as a kind of defensive CM. I don't think that's fair on him. But come on, like pass the ball, man. I mean, look, this is what I wanted to say. If that was Yates doing that yesterday, Yates would have been absolutely crucified. But we don't crucify Danilo because he's a Brazilian wonder kid, right? But if that was Yates doing that, he would have been heavily criticized. And at the moment, Yates is twice the player that Danilo is. I'm not saying it's the same potential, but Yates, for his frustrations, he can pass a ball and he can pass a ball to someone's feet without losing
pass it backwards.
I mean, I'll say I don't think we should.
Is better than losing it.
I'll say I don't think we should be crucifying any of our players, but Danilo does get a lot of flack.
Maybe that's not the right word.
Stadium,
I meant to say criticizing.
Yeah, but he does get a lot of flack. I've seen it at a couple of the home games this season. You know, everyone's calling for him to be taken off, and everyone's like disappointed when he's picking up the ball and making mistakes. So they're straight on his back in the stadium. I think Nuno does need to take him out of the limelight. I think what's more disappointing, and I think obviously Wolfie's been chatting about this all season, and it's true. Our midfield needs a major overhaul, and that's including players like Sangare, who's, I'm sorry, as much as I've defended him and tried to see the best in him, he's not impressing Nuno in training or whatever it is, you know, and Nuno's not giving him a chance. When he does come on, it's usually in games when we're being given the ball and he's made to look half decent because he's picking out passes because he's got time on the ball. But in reality, he's not getting that in a 90-minute game in the Premier League. So he's another one that can go out the door.
As well as that, like, I'm not saying this is going to happen. It won't happen. But I was thinking yesterday, you know, if you put someone like Mbeumo in that situation yesterday where Elanga was, and someone like Cunha in that situation where Morgan Gibbs-White was yesterday, I feel like they both score those goals. Whereas our players don't.
I agree. Look, I think on Danilo, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the only person who's played him right was Cooper.
Yeah,
he played. I think his best position was in that higher 8. I don't know what the official term is.
2 years ago, right? He's still dining out on those goals he scored in that.
No, but I'm not talking about his goals. I'm talking about his involvement. Even if you think back to last year, his goal against Brentford came because he was higher up the pitch. He's not a 6. I remember when Dino did an analysis on him when he bought him. It's like, it's not a 6, and here is why. He's not a 6.
Well,
he's an advanced 8.
look, if he wasn't the 6 before the injury, he certainly isn't now, because he doesn't want to tackle. Nuno doesn't want him to tackle. Whatever it is, he doesn't tackle. And, you know, if you were going to play that system yesterday, why wouldn't you put Sangare in instead? Because that's what he was actually bought for.
Yeah.
He was all right when he came on. I didn't think he did anything bad.
I mean, you know, I wanted to start with both the wingers on and go for it from minute one. But if your tactic is that you want to contain them, tire them out, bring on Elanga and nick a 1-0, right? Then you start with Sangare, because I don't see what Danilo offers in that central deep midfield role.
Yeah.
I think, you know, potentially the idea is that if you play him deep, he's got people in front of him, and he can use his passing range, which may be the last thing he's got left. But my God, he passed it to the opposition every opportunity he had.
And not just in that game, Rob. He's been doing it in the previous games.
I don't think it's fair on him to play him right.
The ironic thing is, I said this last stream and I got shot down for it, but it's true. He's consistently passing the ball away.
His first pass against Spurs was a 4-yard pass, which he put to the Spurs player. It was just, look, I get the whole thing of he's scared to tackle because of the injury he got. I get that. But that doesn't stop your ability to pass. Passing's a natural ability, man.
Nervous on the ball. He doesn't look relaxed at all in any games I've seen him play this season.
Just to come back to this, right? We signed him on a 6.5-year contract. I've just checked that on Wikipedia, so it may be wrong. So like, if we see him as a real long-termer, then I'm afraid he needs a season at Olympiacos or Rio Ave, right? Because right now, I just don't see what he offers, and I don't think it's fair on him to play him, right? Now, also, let's just be clear, before the injury, I personally don't think he was great last year. I'm going to say it, right? He wasn't a regular starter. He scored 2 goals in 29 games. One of them was a worldie against Brentford. The other one was I think at home against Crystal Palace. He bundled it in, right? Now,
can't remember.
For 29 games, that's not a great return, right? So the point is that it's not fair picking him at the moment because he's so far off form. If we think he's one for the future, then he needs to prove himself at one of the other clubs in our particular franchise, right? Because right now, if you pick him, you've got a liability on the pitch. And if you pick him and you've got Sangare fit and available, I think that's criminal. Personally,
the way I would have used him yesterday is the stark opposite of Nuno. So I would have started Elanga, right? And let's just say hypothetically, Elanga starts, and instead of being 1-0 down, instead of being 2-0 down, we're 1-0 down. Those last 15 minutes, I take off someone like Dominguez, who is more defensively minded, and I put on Danilo, because you're going to be going at the goal, trying to get that goal back. And that's the type of player he is. He needs to be in and around the opponent's box, making forward passes and having shots on goal. He can't do that in a low block system in the first
That's
half.
the point, isn't it? He's being played out of position. So being played out of position, we're not seeing anywhere close to what he's capable of. But at the same time, we haven't got that role for him. He's one of those, like I think Crypto touched on. It's either him or Anderson, but Anderson's way ahead of him. Way ahead of him right now.
So you mentioned Anderson, right? You know, we're talking about, how can we get the best out of Danilo? Oh, what's the right tactic? What's his job? Listen, whatever we ask Anderson to do, he does well. Even when the rest of the team is shit, Anderson is good, right? Anderson picks himself. He's the first name on the team sheet as far as I'm concerned. Everything he's been asked to do, he's been consistent, and he can pass, he can tackle. He's even started scoring goals, right? That's the sort of player you want. And therefore, if we're going to wait until the summer, we need to go out and acquire 2 or 3 more players like that. Not think about how we're going to get the best out of Danilo. Send him off on loan. Send him to Olympiacos and let him prove himself.
Well, you know what? I think he is, and he always was meant to be one. He was one of our first signings, and it was one of those Moneyball signings. I think that was always a plan with him. You know, we've seen how Brighton have done it with their South Americans, brought them in and then sold him up for huge profits. We're not going to get that huge profit off Danilo. He's just not had that consistency, and obviously injuries have played a part in that.
I like that theory, Ez. I think that you're absolutely right. We at that point we were looking to create a conveyor belt of players, and obviously if you buy him on a 6-year, then that means in terms of amortization, his kind of 16 million ends up working out at like 2 and a bit per year.
But right now, he's not going to hit those heights, in terms of.
And we need to be ruthless. Let's look at the people that we've been. Let's look at the people that we've been. Like, Emmanuel Dennis, where's he? Yeah. John Joe Shelby, where's he? Yeah. Mangala, where's he? So why
don't bring Mangala into it.
No, but why are we keeping Pets? I'm sorry.
Okay, but we need to be. Do we need to be more analytical of this midfield on a couple of fronts? Firstly, this long ball system does not suit the midfield because you bypass it. Can we agree? Is there anyone who objects to that?
I'm not sure it is a long ball system. It shouldn't be.
Mate, tell me more than 2 times in a game where Sells doesn't kick it long.
The problem is that yes, he kicks it long, but we're sat so far back that the only person who can possibly have a chance of getting the ball is basically Wood.
You're bang on. In fact, I'll go a step further, Crypto. At least when Sells is kicking it, he's moved the players up the pitch, even though we don't win the long kicks. When the defense starts kicking it long, there's no one there to receive it except the 2 centre-backs from the opposition team.
This is what annoyed me so much. If you're going to play that game like you did yesterday, why is Elanga not on the pitch? Somebody run.
Yeah, he should get a flick on off Wood.
Okay, but you say, why is Elanga not on the pitch? Elanga missed one of the sitters while he was on the pitch.
Elanga and Wood had 25 minutes together. So to say that we just made a switch and taken him off and put
exactly.
He missed a sitter. In the first half, no one missed a sitter because we had no shots.
Yeah.
At least we had 5 or 6 shots in the second half.
Okay, so this is where I wanted to interject earlier, and I'll let you carry on. Yeah. Okay, tell me, we're close to the end of the season now, last 5 games. How many 90-minute performances have we seen from Nottingham Forest this season? How many? Name me one, in fact.
Brighton.
That's not how we play. So we were never going to get a 90-minute performance. We haven't got the players. We haven't got the squad. We didn't have available players yesterday to play that way. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to put it all in that first 45 minutes and then hope that you've done enough and then to hold on for the rest of the game? Or are you going to put it towards the end of the game?
Yes, exactly. What I've noticed is things have shifted over the last couple of months. The players are getting tired. We're picking up injuries and things have shifted. You jump back 3 months ago, we would start with 4-2-3-1 with both the wingers on. We'd go 1-0 up. And once we'd taken the lead, we would never surrender the lead. And we'd bring on Murillo and we would see out the game. For some reason, that seems to have shifted now back to using this Christmas tree thing and starting with one winger and trying to tire out the opposition and then bringing on the other winger and trying to nick a 1-0. Now, it kind of worked in the home game against Man City, for example. It's not without success, but I feel that we have shifted to starting very defensively and trying to outlast the opposition and then try and nick one at the end. That is what Cooper did, right? Yeah. We need to go back to starting with our strongest team, taking the lead, then holding on to the lead.
Yeah. I agree. I think if I might be wrong, but I think if you look at the stats, we have some of the most 1-0 victories in the Premier League, right? We're good at taking an early lead, sitting back and defending. We are not good at chasing the game, especially against a team like Man City. I mean, look at the Villa match. We were brilliant in that second half, but it was too far. We need to do it in the first 45 minutes and then trust in the defence, because very rarely do we concede a goal when we've got a 5-back and all the defence are on point.
All I will say is what this proves, and there's various nuances to this as well. All this proves is we haven't got a squad big enough to fight on more than one front right now this season. And so all our eggs kind of have to be in the Premier League basket to try and get that top 5 finish.
Could have done something about that in January, couldn't we?
That was the nuance. That was the nuance. Hang on. That was the nuance I was talking about. But let's just have a look at Aston Villa. How much money did they spend in that January window? How much investment did they put into that team? And where are they right now? They're on the risk.
But hang on.
Let me finish off.
They're loans.
They're at risk of only getting Conference League at the end of all this, and they've spent money. So there's two sides to this. Nuno's gamble, which we've got to say it's Nuno's, because all reports that we've had is that it was Nuno's decision not to invest and not to add to his squad. Now, Nuno's gamble could very well pay off if we finish in those Champions League places. And that's the risk we're going to have. He's decided to take. And now it's on him to make sure we get over that line in these last 5 games. And I think that's what we're doing.
Are loans. They are loans.
They are, but it's still in the investment. We spent that money, haven't they?
Why couldn't we have done those deals?
Yeah, but
what difference has it made to them? They're out of Europe, they're out of a FA Cup, and they could.
Rashford's injured now, but he had some bloody good games for Villa.
It doesn't matter. It's the end result. I don't care about the odd 1 or 2 good games. I'm talking about the end result.
Villa bought like 4 or 5 players. All we were saying in Jan is buy maybe 1 or 2 cover players, a striker, and maybe a wing back. And that would have been perfect. It would have suited us down to the ground.
Might have given us a better chance in the FA Cup, but league-wise, I think we've got enough. I still think
it gives us different. Look, when Wood gets taken off yesterday and Taiwo comes on, right? I don't want to talk about Taiwo, but Taiwo
this for a long time, and that's still the case. Nothing's changed.
Taiwo's not a threat.
Are you going to risk Wood? Are you going to risk Wood when we've got?
No, but what I'm saying is that when Wood goes off the pitch and Taiwo comes on, does anybody expect him to score? I don't. All we were saying in Jan is if you get a backup striker, someone to challenge Wood in a different way, so not someone who's waiting for the crosses to come in, someone to run through the middle. Obviously, we gave the example of Visser. He would have been perfect. He would have given us a
deal was not right. So if the deal was not right and the deal was not struck.
Yeah, but we
got told that gamble.
We got told it was too expensive, but you have to pay.
Yeah, exactly. So the deal wasn't right for us.
Look how many goals he scored. Is he not worth 22 million?
I agree. Listen,
I know you agree. I know you agree, but a lot of people said, "Oh, you're negative."
But Nuno's taken that gamble. Let's say it's Nuno's decision. He's taken that gamble. That gamble could still very well pay off. And you've seen teams like Aston Villa spend money, and they could be out of everything. They could end up with a Conference League place. So who's right at the end of the day?
Yeah, but it's all hypothetical. Wood could have.
Well, it's not going to be in 2 or 3 games' time. It's not going to be hypothetical, is it? We're going to know.
We'll see, won't we? But I don't think my point at the time was there's no harm in having backup anyway. Like the thing is, right? Put it this way. If the deal was not right, and Nuno's made that decision, and the deal could have made the right decision. He's made the right decision. Yeah, but if
let's say you've got head up high.
If you've got an opportunity to have some cover, I'd rather have a cover and never use them than have no cover and think, shit, I've got no cover.
Well, Nuno clearly doesn't feel that way, and this is another thing on Nuno as well. Obviously, he's actually dealt with the smallest playing squad of any manager in the league. I think 23 players is what he's used. He's going to have to get used to playing, having a bigger squad for next season, and we'll see how that works in that favor. But in terms of injuries throughout the season, we've been pretty good. It's all patched up at the end of the season. Now, like I said, it's down to a gamble that Nuno's taken. That gamble could very well pay off. The massive game is obviously on Brentford. If we beat Brentford, mate, we still got Leicester City at home. That will be enough.
And West Ham.
Be enough, and the gamble's paid off.
You just jinxed it.
Have you guys done the super chats?
No.
No, you do them. I'm going to grab a drink.
All right, let's catch up on the super chats. Roy with the 19 months. My guy, thank you so much with the 19 months, buddy. Curtis with the $5 says, solve everything. Move Anderson to the 6th, MGW to the 8th, and buy a real 10 like Cherky. Sel Dominguez doesn't fit our system, and Sangare isn't used. 4-2-3-1, he says. That's worth a little chat. I'm gonna talk about that in just a second. Thank you for the $5, bro. John with the 199 says, all in all, we've had a fantastic season. Come on, you Reds. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. But, well, we've had a fantastic season once we get to the end. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it depends where we finish. I mean, this is Forest. We could see a collapse at any point. Thank you for the 199, bro. Curtis with the 6 months. Thanks so much, Curtis. And the lovely Sharky with the 32 months, the absolute legend. Thanks so much, buddy. There was a comment here that John brought up, boys. I just wanted to address with you guys. And I don't know if you saw it at the stadium, Rob. He goes, what was annoying for me was Zack didn't get past the ball. At times he was in acres of space and other players saw him in space, but still turned and went back across the pitch. And I actually think he's not naming names there, but I'll name the names. Morgan Gibbs-White was doing it as far as I was concerned. Just before we move on to this topic, 60% of you would sell Danilo, 13 wouldn't, and 27 see him as a squad player. And we are 9 likes away from 200 with nearly 500 in here. So please do make sure he gets over that 200 likes at the very least. But what are you saying there then, Rob?
Absolutely agree. So the thing is that when you're in the stadium, you see things that you don't see on the screen because the camera is zoomed in on the action. And a lot of the time that we were going down these blind alleys, we're trying to advance it up the left wing, hoping that like Hudson-Odoi would be able to beat the 4 players that were marking him. And meanwhile, the switch was on and Abbott was in loads of space. He was in so much space that if he'd been sprayed the ball by Gibbs-White, he could have then advanced it 30 yards before he'd had to take somebody on. And it was time and time again. And I think that it's good that the manager's shown confidence in him, but it seemed like his teammates didn't show confidence in him. Maybe it's because he's a central defender. Maybe he's not the most natural crosser, but it really felt like we were just advancing up a blind alley. And several times I thought he was on. I was thinking, who's that there on the other side? Oh, it's Abbott. Why don't they pass to him? So I thought that as well, and I thought it was a shame.
Because it's weird because if Nuno trusted him, did the squad not trust him to play? I guess that's really the question. I don't know what the chat think of that one.
By the way, look, I am not against the decision to play him. So if we go back to the days of Clough, right? Clough used to play 18-year-olds. Clough played Roy Keane. You know, he played 18-year-olds in cup finals. So, you know, if you're good enough, you're old enough. So, but it was frustrating that, you know, when we were having so much trouble breaking them down and getting out of our own half, that option was there and he wasn't used quite a few times.
Because something I said on the player ratings, boys, was like, you saw O'Reilly come in at left back very recently for City. You've then seen who scored? Rico Lewis. He's another young kid of theirs. Like Pep's not scared to chuck people into the fold. You get me on these things. But why is it that like when we chuck someone in, I was consistent with this before the match. I was like, Zack Abbott's a good player. I thought in those games he played pre-season, he looked very tidy. But there was a meltdown in the chat. And yes, I'm talking to you lot in the chat. There was like, oh my God, Zack Abbott's in the team. Oh my God, Zack Abbott's in the team. Like, why is it then when a Man City does it, it's like, oh, it's a Man City Academy player. He's got to be the next Zidane. You get me? But when it's one of ours, it's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I am tongue-in-cheeking with you, chat. You know I love you, really.
Yeah, obviously there's levels to this, you know, even with the academies. They're not the first 2 players they've brought out of their conveyor belt over the last couple of years. So they've got obviously a much bigger, deeper academy than we have. And there is an element of Nuno not wanting to risk these players. I think Abbott should have had a lot more game time in the cup games, to be fair. You know, that's how you lead these players into the first team. But we haven't got behind Abbott, who we got, you know, what names are we hearing? And there's not many, you know, so to be honest, we're not on the same level as them right now, but we can get there. And I know there's a lot of good work being done behind the scenes with the academy in terms of a structure and the money being invested in it. So watch your space, you know, there will be other players coming, but right now we haven't got a whole host of talent behind him, you know, to try and break into that first team squad. And he's trained with them all season, and he's obviously still played with the under-23. So it's been a great experience for him. And obviously yesterday is another one for him to tick off his mantelpiece. But I think he did really well. Obviously no disgrace. I think Nuno's hands were tied. I don't think he would have started him if it was if Moreira de Silva was available. I don't think he would have started with thing yesterday, but he got his minutes. He did really well. Great day for him. He'll never forget it. And I just hope he does get more game time next season. If not, give him a loan where he's going to get minutes, at a top end League One or, a mid championship time, somewhere where he's going to get guaranteed minutes. That's what they need at this stage. And I think we've got other players that we need to bring through as well.
I think
the only thing with that,
in a game like that, he can handle playing at the City ground. So he's blooded himself now, and we can use him.
Yeah, because the only problem with saying, okay, get him on loan is who are you going to bring in then to sit on the bench most of the season?
Yeah.
Because he's probably what, 5th or 6th choice.
I mean, when you think about
position, no, he's
honestly, for an academy player to get into this, for academy player to even get into this 25-man squad, he must be pretty good to make it in this 25-man squad.
But it's not the be all and end all.
He's not. Yeah, go on.
No, go on, Des. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, because of his age, obviously he doesn't count as within that 25-man squad.
Yeah, exactly that. But like, I don't mean it's being an end all. You see, I said Man City done it with O'Reilly, with Rico Lewis, with Bob, etc. Man U plugged all these next generational, one of a kind talents through in their team. Like it doesn't. I don't get why it's so shocking when we do it when the money is being invested.
Do you know what I think it is, Wolfie, as well? Because they're not bringing just one in; they're bringing 2 or 3. McAtee's another one we haven't mentioned.
Yeah, McAtee, who we're looking to buy.
Yeah, they seem to have not a literal conveyor belt, but they've got a conveyor belt of these players lining up to, to replace them and being given a chance. And obviously, it does help that you're coming into a settled, well, it has been settled this season, but a settled backroom staff with a manager who's been there how long now? 10 years now. So his philosophy has obviously gone through the entire team, and not many managers get that opportunity to do that. So you can see that obviously the youth team all the way up to the first team are playing in the same philosophy that Pep has instilled in that club. It takes a strong manager to be able to do that. Klopp managed to do that, and you can see that the youngsters coming through Liverpool as well. Their right back, he's going to be a star. The goalkeeper's going to be a star. So they've had that stability with the management and with obviously the investment in that. We've been in the Premier League 3 seasons, guys, so we've got a long way to go. But you will see that, and I want it to be a stage where there's 2 or 3 players that have been brought into the first team squad in one go, not just one player. And Zack Abbott's done amazingly well, but he should be the first of many.
But the ironic
it's very good. So I just want to big up Dan Potts for the raid. Shout out to 12th man there. Make sure you're subscribed to him. Mark, if you don't mind, could you put Potts' channel in the comments? In fact, I'll do it as well. I'm a nice guy. But yeah, if you actually, Mark, could you do it? My screens are tied. Thank you, Mark. Make sure you subscribe to him. Big up to Dan Potts as always. Thank you for the raid. Pete's in the house as well. Shout out to Pete. The Alliance is just about holding on. I'm going to ask the question he asked me to you guys in just a second. Make sure you're subscribed as well. Go on, Crypto. Before we move on to that, what were you about to say?
I was going to say quickly, I mean, the ironic thing is that Zack Abbott yesterday looked like one of the best players on the pitch for us.
That's my point. Yeah.
When people are saying loan him out, he's not ready. Well, yesterday he was ready because he was probably the second best player on the pitch.
Yeah.
But does he get in ahead of... I think he can play across the back line, and we've seen that in pre-season. He played at left back, he's played at centre back, and he's played at right back now. But does he get in ahead of any of our first teamers?
No, I'm not saying he gets in the first team. I just don't get why it's such a, oh my God, there's an academy player playing.
Because we're not used to it.
Look what Jono did when he broke through and, he got loaned out and what have you.
There was a definite, game plan with what we did with Brennan, and what Brennan managed to do was excel. Where he went, he excelled. He was a standout player. I think it was him and Morgan Rogers that were in that midfield that season for Lincoln, and they absolutely dominated that league. Unfortunately, they didn't quite get over the line, but he excelled in his, and that's what we need him to do. We need to be.
You might see that. You just don't know. He's only played 1 game. So.
Exactly. Like, it's too much judging. But okay, let's move this forward now, because shout out to Pete. He's in there, coming over from Potts' channel. He asked me earlier, and I want to ask the same question to you boys. He says his fear, and I'll take his word as genuine for now, right? He said that whoever lost this game may find themselves on such a downer off the back of it that it derails them for the last 5 games of this season. Do you guys think there's any merit in what he's saying there? Or is Pete trying to break our alliance? You shaking your head, Rob?
Rob, jump in.
Right. Everton, and I'm still going to stick by this, was the worst performance I've seen in a decade. And we managed to turn it around and win at Tottenham, which was a hard game and involved a lot of hanging on, right? Now, I've been feeling pretty down after yesterday, but a lot of that is down to it took 4 hours to get back up the M1. It was horrible. There were a lot of problems. It was a very exhausting experience and expensive experience overall. And it's all right to feel bad, but like if we beat Brentford on Thursday night, that fixes it. That more than fixes it. We'll put this behind us, and those fixtures that we have are generally, they could have been worse. I don't want to say that it's an easy run in. I don't want to say that, but they could be a lot worse. They could be Chelsea's fixtures.
It is an easy run in, Rob. Let's be real.
Yeah. Well,
we've got. Okay. Oh, let me rephrase. We have the easiest run in.
Shall we say favourable? Right.
Yeah.
No, we have the easiest run in of the teams around us. I think everyone would agree with that.
No easy game in
we have
Premier League.
entitled fans. I've been reading that we have entitled fans.
Well, you sounded like one earlier, but go on.
What are you talking about? Right. So anyway, you don't mean me? So
yes, we think we knew. Oh, look. We had 50,000 turned up. We did all this.
The vibe will be totally different if we beat Brentford on Thursday night, which is, by the way, something that we haven't done in the previous 2 attempts at home. They were both draws, weren't they?
Yeah.
But having said that, look, we beat them away. We've undone the hoodoo. So
we beat them. It was one of our best performances of the season, that away game.
I can't remember it. Was it 2-0?
It was 2-0. And
who scored?
At that stage, we'd won all their home games. They'd not conceded.
Yeah, I remember that bit. Who scored?
Did Aina score? And Elanga, maybe.
Aina and Elanga, yeah. Aina scored the second.
I can't remember it.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll use
memory's going boys. Turning 23 just knocks you back a few. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah, of course.
Sorry, go on, Rob. Sorry.
Anyway, so look, there's a few things I had to say today that just had to get out of my system. But if we win on Thursday, we will all feel very differently. That's all I'm saying. I don't think it's a problem. I think at the City ground, it's going to be buzzing on Thursday night, and hopefully we'll get the job done. And that fixes everything because we'll be third again. We'll be third.
This is the thing, but it's something that you brought up, Ez, and you said it as a positive, that we play last in the next few week cycles.
Yeah, game weeks.
Is that actually a positive? I kind of like it. You know my happiest moment this season. I'll take you back to my happy place, right? Was when we beat Brighton 7-0 at 12:30, and I don't like 12:30 kickoffs.
I know, but that was the only one, wasn't it?
And I hate 12:30 kickoffs, but we won, and then you know what? The rest of the weekend, it was very relaxing. Absolutely. Whereas I think from and I can only speak on my behalf, don't know about you boys, but when you're like seeing, Chelsea got a last minute winner against Fulham, Man City got the goals against Everton because Tarkowski got injured, and then you're like, oh crap, I gotta play Spurs, my brother's team.
It's like a penalty shootout where the other team goes first and they've scored.
Exactly.
It's not very nice.
And that team usually ends up winning.
Yeah,
in this situation, though, I think it works in our favor, and I'm quite happy with it because, these teams are going to win games, and we saw this weekend went totally against us again. But we know what we need to do, and the players knew what we needed to do. The question was, is it going to derail our season? From a player's point of view, I absolutely think no way. From a fan's point of view, again, with what Rob said, if we get that positive result, and by positive result, I do mean the win. I don't think a draw is going to be enough to get me too excited, but we need to win against Brentford on Thursday night. Then we're back in the hot seat. We're back in third. It's in our hands, and again, favourable games, and the games are just ticking off as we're going, and we're still in that position. So that, for me, is the most important thing. Get that 3 points on Thursday, get back into that position, and then with 4 games to go, you're in the driving seat, and these teams, again, they still got difficult games to play. Yes, Liverpool have already won the league, so it might make... Is it Newcastle have to play them next? Might make their game a little...
Chelsea got Liverpool next.
I know Chelsea. Yeah, Chelsea got Liverpool up. So you'd like to think that Liverpool will finish off the season strongly. I mean, it's been a disappointing season, really, to see that they've not really been challenged at all. We weren't in a position to do so, but nobody else was either. But we got to just worry about ourselves. I don't think that result yesterday will play any bearing on how we finish off the season. I think the opposite. I think it focuses us now, and we know what we need to do, and we've known what we needed to do for a long time, but we could get it done in the next couple of games and then kind of chillax for that last game at Chelsea where a few people...
I hadn't heard that since I was like 12, bro. Chillax, that's old school.
A few people are still thinking that Chelsea is going to be a be all and end all, and I've been saying this for a long time, and I just hope I'm right that it's not going to have any bearing on where we finish. We'll be safe in our Champions League place by that game, hopefully.
Is there any chance of Man City slipping up against Wolves on Friday night?
No.
I wouldn't want to play Wolves right now.
It's at home, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's at home. Just very quick. My man Will, with the £5 says, I was doubly disappointed yesterday. Having lost, I didn't get back to Newark until 12:20 a.m. Bloody hell. Then watched the game on TV, and we lost that one as well.
I'm going to watch a different game, bro.
Look like FIFA.
There are times. Do you know the one?
What I missed?
I think was it Swansea or Blackpool? I remember I had the game and then came back and watched it, and I was like, maybe it didn't quite happen. It was the playoff ones I'm talking about. It didn't quite happen like that, and you're like, why didn't? I know what Will's saying. Shit like that to him.
Yeah, that Blackpool second leg, I've never watched that back. I was there on the day. I've never watched that game.
Let's not do painful memories, bro, at this time of the year, man. We're in a very dangerous position here, right? Very dangerous. Can someone in the chat do me a quick favor? If you remember, can you just put an emoji in? I just want to see now, because I think I can actually bring up the visual of it. There we go. Yes, we got some Marinakis emojis in there. Hey. Okay. This is the full tech here. Guys, make sure you've hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed as well. I'm going to talk about it. I know it's not a popular one to talk about, right? But I'm going to do it. Morgan Gibbs-White. Let's have this conversation.
I think Morgan Gibbs-White is a class player. And like I say, he gets involved in so many goal involvements. And you can tell he's one of the few players on the pitch who you can tell really, really care. I think the way he speaks, the way he performs on the pitch, he genuinely wants to try his hardest. Yes, sometimes he does silly tricks and flicks, and sometimes he misses the goal and he's not so clinical, but he's the one pushing the team forward. I mean, yesterday he was the only one really trying, mostly to push the team forward from that central midfield position. So I think he's a huge player for us, but that picture I've seen going around of Pep whispering in his ear, I'm sure he was probably saying something to him, come and replace Kevin De Bruyne for me. I don't know.
Pep's done that with loads of players. Did he do that with like Elise or Eze last season or something? And just have a
but who would have
chat
won Eze? Eze is a great player.
Look, you lot did in a cup. You did with their players.
I think he's a good player. I think he's one of our best players still. Yes, he needs to work on his shooting more, but not many players yesterday would be clinical enough to even go around the keeper. So
he didn't need to go around the keeper.
If he just shot, I think he would have actually scored.
I've seen hookers spread their less wide than Ortega did yesterday, man. I mean, seriously, he went wider. I didn't see it until I saw it on the replay. Okay, Morgan Gibbs-White, he's probably pre-planned what he's doing in his head, but my God, did Ortega spread his legs, man. And then the issue for me with the goal is it's not even the miss. The miss is criminal in itself. It's how heavy his touch was to go around the keeper to narrow the angle. It was like there was 3 mistakes you could argue within that one sequence.
At least he was attacking. No one else in the team was trying to attack.
But my point here, look, I'm not going to lie to you. He's frustrating me right now. I'm not going to lie to you. I think he's better than his finishing is showing. This isn't the first time his shooting has been woeful. But this was a huge... I think it happened in the 75th minute. Yeah, 75th. So we would have started about 20 minutes to get another goal. But he's not reliable. His stats show he's not reliable enough for a 10. I would push him down into the 8. Get rid of that shooting thing.
We've said before we like him in the 8. I actually think Anderson would be better in the 10 because Anderson
Anderson can't really shoot either, bro. Let's be real.
He scored that great goal against Spurs, was it?
Yeah, that deflected.
If you've got somebody in front of those two that can take their chances, then that's actually a very exciting midfield that could be a 50% possession midfield and not a 30% possession midfield.
I'd put Danilo in the 10.
But if he's the Danilo that we all wanted him to be.
No, I'm not saying Danilo is the right answer. I'm saying that out of what we've got.
We've got available, yeah?
Yeah. I would go Anderson 6, Danilo Gibbs-White 8, Danilo 10 for now until we sort the midfield out in the summer.
This will enrage you, but someone that knows how to put away chances is Jota Silva. So he could play in the 10.
He could do it.
I'd actually play Cho in the 10. I think he's the best finisher outside.
I'd think about dropping him. I've not been impressed with him since he's got
one-hand clapping. The problem is he's been playing as the solo winger in a lot of the games recently.
Yeah,
and the problem is we're giving them too many excuses, right? When we're at this end of the table, it can't be, but remember what he did 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago.
Listen, if you've got both wingers on, the opposition are stretched. And then that creates the room for Hudson-Odoi to go into and do the damage. With the Christmas tree is way too narrow because he's always up against 4 guys. So
I understand. Listen, we haven't got. Goes back to my point that we haven't got a strong enough squad. Simple as, right? So we've got these last 5 games. We'll see his strongest starting lineup against Brentford. I guarantee you that he's going to go with. He's going to go with his best players, and that's what we've got to do.
We'll see Aina as well. I
think we'll see Aina as well. And we'll see Williams back as well. So we'll see as strong as a starting lineup as we can possibly put out against Brentford. And that's what it's got to be for these last 5 games, guys. It's literally.
So what is the strongest squad, Des? What is the strongest squad? In fact, chat, put your 6, 8, and 10 in the chat. What would you do? Let's assume he goes to a 4-2-3-1. Okay.
Yeah, I think
puts the width.
Bring Yates back in that midfield. I think he'll bring Yates back in.
Where are you playing him at the 6 or the 8? The 6.
He's in the 6, yeah, and he's playing Anderson next to him. And when you're playing your 2 wingers, you're playing Hudson-Odoi and Elanga, and obviously MG Dub in the 10 and Chris Wood ahead of him. That's your strongest.
I agree. I
don't agree.
Yates, Anderson, Morgan Gibbs-White. I think is the strongest 3.
You know what I would do?
That's got us the most results this season.
You know what I would do?
Go on.
I'd drop Callum Hudson-Odoi and bring Sosa in on the left.
You seem to have this thing for Sosa, thinking he's going to prove.
To be fair, Sosa is good. Sosa looks very good when he comes on, but Nuno just doesn't pick him.
I don't see him as a starter.
He comes on as a sub anymore. I get your point, but I think Hudson-Odoi is still brilliant, but he needs Elanga and Wood on the pitch,
and he needs Williams running up outside him, or he needs Iron running out.
Don't forget as well.
But they're not. This is my point. You guys saying he needs this, he needs that. It's not happening. It's not happening.
Because Nuno's changing the formation and the players every game.
Okay, so it was the injury to Elanga that sort of cemented us in playing this Christmas tree formation. And I'm saying that we need to now ditch that Christmas tree formation and just go back to the 4-2-3-1.
Okay, Rob, I agree with you. But this is the dilemma that you're missing. This team's midfield is not good enough to play a 2-man midfield. But if you play a 2-man midfield, you can have your width. If you play a 3-man midfield, you lose your width. However, you can still keep your width because there's this other formation called a 4-3-3. But for that to happen, you would have to drop Gibbs-White or drop him into the 8. There's no other two options on it. Why can't we go a 4-3-3 with Anderson, Gibbs-White, and whoever, Yates or Danilo, Dominguez, and then just go Elanga and Hudson-Odoi or Sosa? That's what I would do, with Chris Wood up front, who, by the way, was anonymous yesterday, may I add. Like, why does it have to be like we have to play with 3 in the midfield, but it doesn't mean you have to lose your width. Or if you want old school Nuno's formation, his most tried and tested was 3-4-3, where he would have 3 at the back, 2 wingers the two wing backs overlapping the two inside forwards. He used to have like Diego Jota, I think it was, on the left-hand side, and I can't remember who was on the right, and then he had Raul Jimenez up front, and then he had Neves, and what was the other guy called? Matinho, wasn't it? In the Wolves.
Yeah, but the problem with that formation is if as soon as you lose Aina or Williams, that formation is dead.
Exactly. We can't underestimate how much.
You have to bring in backup. You have to bring in like Jed Spencer, someone to cover.
Yeah, you can't underestimate how much of a loss Aina's been, and it's changed.
Huge loss. He's been our best player this season. I get that.
Like I said,
we've played.
We don't get.
We can't be a one-man team, and especially if that one man's your right back.
I'm going back to it. Our squad is not deep enough to be fighting on all these fronts, you know. So we do enough. We will do enough. Trust me, we'll do enough to get these Champions League places after having a ridiculous season where we have overachieved. I know Ant doesn't like that. You achieve what you achieve, but we have. If you look at just the stats, and I know some people don't want to look at stats, but you have to, because we have in XG and all other departments, we've overachieved. Our game plan has worked on the majority of the games, but it's not worked every single time. And when it hasn't worked, we've looked pretty shit. But the last 5 games, we only need to win 2 of these and get a draw maybe out of one of the others. That will be enough, and we'll do enough to get those. We'll see that, like I said, we'll see the strongest starting lineup, and I do believe what I've said is the strongest lineup.
I used to love Bob.
We should be experimenting with Sosa with 5 games to go.
It's not experimenting, man. It's saying
it's not good enough. It's not good enough.
Something has to change. All right, Ez, would you agree with me? We've lost our snap in the transition. Would you agree with me on that?
Agreed, yeah.
Yeah, but that's because we've lost our wing back. So the whole game plan goes out the window because we've lost.
It's not though, is it? It's
partly
not.
that, but we've had injuries that have overlapped. So we had Wood out, we had Elanga out. The point is, if we've got Wood, Elanga, Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs-White all fit, then that's our attacking 4. But that's been disrupted over recent weeks, and we've lost a bit of confidence in it. And we've been playing around with a formation which I would now like to see consigned to the bin after yesterday because it didn't work.
Well, what we've seen so many times is we force them out wide, right? So they don't go down the middle. This didn't happen yesterday, but we force them out wide. The ball comes in. Milenkovic normally wins 90% of his headers. The ball goes back out, and that's when Williams or Aina picks it up and they start the counter.
Yeah,
exactly. That's literally a tactic.
Exactly what happened against Man United.
Without Aina and Williams, Toffolo and Abbott, again, I'm not blaming them because it's not their game, but they don't start that counter. They don't push forward. They look for a pass inside. And all of a sudden, we've gone from a counter-attacking wing team to trying to tiki-taka it around the middle of the pitch. Yeah. And our midfield aren't good enough for that. And we don't have the possession. So I can't tell you how much of a miss Williams and Aina have been. They're basically like the heartbeat of our team. Without Williams and Aina, our counter-attacking tactics.
Yeah, but you know why the reason that's bollocks, Crypto, is because Moreno, it's half bollocks. Moreno is an attacking fullback. So if he wanted to keep an attacking prowess on the left-hand side, he could have dropped Toffolo for Moreno. And I agree, Moreno's been shit.
He's off the mark. He's got no confidence.
Yeah, but the bottom line is there's 2 fundamentals for me in this team. The midfield isn't good enough, especially in the 6. Mm-hmm. And Nuno's long ball tactics are bypassing the midfield. That for me is the 2 fundamentals.
And we don't have enough backup in certain positions.
Yeah,
we don't have enough backup, but even I don't necessarily agree with that because I think if you lose a Yates, a Dominguez comes in and gives you the same level. I don't think either of those levels are up there.
Yeah, but right? I think you just off stream for a few minutes earlier when I was saying that if Chris Wood is not on form or if Chris Wood is not getting the service, Taiwo comes on, right? It's not Taiwo is not scoring, but even if Taiwo was, he's not a different enough type of player to give us a different style. Like that, even if Wood had a good match, if the style doesn't fit, but Taiwo's not doing anything, is he? Like,
Wood can't win a header. Let's be real.
Yeah, but yesterday, for example, Elanga wasn't on, so there was hardly any crosses going into the box.
No, I'm not talking about in the box. He's better at heading in the box. I'm talking the target man headers from the goal kicks and all that. Yeah. And he's not winning those.
He seems to miss time so many.
But imagine yesterday, The person who was most attacking yesterday or trying to attack was Morgan Gibbs-White. He's not going to pass it forward to Wood because Wood is not a fast-paced player who can take on people skillfully. We need a type of striker to come in and basically be the carbon opposite to Wood, someone who can run at the defense, take them on man for man. We don't have that. Taiwo is not that person.
No, we don't.
We need an alternative striker.
What we need to do, but that's a longer term picture. But what we need to do for now is play to our strengths, win the next couple of games, and then worry about it in the summer. But right now,
that's easier said than done. Yes. What happens if we lose our next few games? I'm not saying we will, but
that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And if we do, then we don't. Listen, I've said this consistently. If we lose these games, then we don't deserve to. There's no entitlement, and there shouldn't be any entitlement. It would have been top 5 most of the season.
We've done so well. We've done so well to get to this position. It'd be such a shame now to lose it.
It would be, but it doesn't mean we deserve it just because we've been there the majority of the season. We have to tick these last few boxes.
Yeah, but if we lose these games because of tactics, who doesn't deserve it? Do we not deserve it as fans because Alanga's not on the pitch or because Danilo's on the pitch instead of an extra winger? We're not saying that. Everyone's saying the obvious thing. Get Elanga on the pitch, play 4-2-3-1.
But everyone's not the coach. We've got to trust in the coach, and we've trusted in him this long.
I do. I've trusted in him the whole season. Actually, he's not consistent at the moment.
We might not be panic amongst the players, but it seems to be panic amongst the fan base. But not from me. I think.
Bro, do you know how many sharks I got circling me right now, bro? With the knife sharpening.
Yeah, but you keep throwing out fucking meats, don't you? So you're gonna be circling.
I got a little paper cut the other day and a drop of blood landed in the water, man. And we hadn't even played Spurs and they all freaking pounced on it, right? Imagine what's gonna happen if we don't make top 5.
Then you deserve it.
Nuno cannot not get top 5 right. I'm in big trouble if Nuno don't get top 5.
We'll get top 5, but we have no right for it until we do it. We got to get ourselves over the line. We will. I'm not saying we won't. I'm saying we will. But let's not think that we've done it yet. You know, we've got a few games to go. But we will deserve it once we've done it. But until then, we haven't done anything. Right? Okay.
All right. Is there anything else we need to cover off before we? I got to catch up on the super chat. Sorry. Dean with the 30 months. My guy Dean, thank you so much, buddy. Anthony with the $5. He goes, leave MGW alone. He is class in the center of our club. He is R8. That's exactly what I was saying, bro.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
You said it in a nicer way. I said he can't shoot. Put him in the 8. Yeah, so two different paths led to the same answer. Thank you so much for the $5. And the lovely Mel with the £5 says, commentators were so biased yesterday. I had it on mute, so I can't comment on the comments.
Stadium announcer was biased.
Was it?
Seriously?
I can't believe it. Yeah, they were good. The stadium announcer was crazy, like reading out the Man City players and reading out the scorers and Forest are here as well.
To be fair though, like is it Lee Dixon? Lee Dixon was saying exactly what we're saying. Like, why is Elanga not on the pitch? Why are they low blocking when they're 1-0 down? Like, it's just obvious things. Like, why?
Yeah, but they also say it from a position of not having watched Forest, and they just hook onto this one little obvious thing, and then
I mean, all they ever say.
Like, for all we know, Elanga could have been carrying the knock because he came off at half-time against Spurs, didn't he?
Why not play him the first 45 minutes?
Yeah.
One of us said, "Why isn't Yates playing?" You know, so I don't know.
Yeah, I had a couple of that in the chat as well, but Rich, my guy, Rich. Big up to Crystal Palace. They got their job done.
Yeah.
Go and win it now. Get that first trophy in that cabinet.
I'm going to get a Forest shirt with Eze on the back if they beat Man City.
I bet you they can sell 45,000 tickets.
Easily.
Yeah,
Rich, did you sell your allocation out, by the way? True for a proper fan base, Crystal Palace have. He says, was it Nuno's tactics or the early City goal that messed up yours? Nuno's tactics, bro. Nuno's tactics.
No, it's the early City goal, man.
It wasn't.
He didn't react to it.
Pep knew that the Forest players are not used to Wembley. They're going to want a few minutes to settle in. No,
we've been there like 3 years ago. What are you talking about?
No,
you can't say you're not used to stadium.
Played 3 years ago.
There was no reaction to going and goal down. There was no reaction. We had no
Yeah,
shot.
That's
No
down to our
shot in the
tactics.
first
But like,
45 minutes.
listen,
No
like I say,
shot.
we won't be talking about that semi-final come the end of the season. We won't be giving a shit about it. Trust me.
Look, as Rob said, I think I agree with Rob. Beat Brentford. Who gives a damn?
I was going to say, are we doing a Brentford preview or
Yeah, why not? When are we playing them Thursday?
Thursday? You know,
This means we're back in 48 hours.
are we doing?
Well, actually, it will literally be 48 hours. So I got football training. So it'll probably be 8:30 again.
What, 10 o'clock on Wednesday?
Sorry.
I think
Oh my God, it's half an hour difference, there, man. Sorry.
No, I know, but look, it's nearly 10 o'clock now. You know.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, do you like the little timer? Do you like the little clock there?
And we chat for a bit afterwards. So
you like that little clock there? It's a little upgrade.
Yeah,
So,
Rob starts chatting about like Total War, Thunder, or Rome, whatever it's called, for about an hour after the stream. So,
oh God. All right, let's wrap it up there because everyone's got school night and what have you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure you've hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. We're literally about 100 away from 25K. So if you're not subscribed and want to get us there, you know what to do. It's completely free to do. Back tomorrow, the transfer video, I believe. I'll check the rota, but there's some interesting transfer gossip and rumors and stuff all going on in the wonderful world of Forest. So we'll see you on that one. Otherwise, have a good evening and come on, you Reds.
you Reds.